Well, Adam Ni is a China researcher at the Department of Security Studies and Criminology at Macquarie University. He joins us now live from Berlin. Thanks so much for speaking to us. So Twitter and Facebook say they've shut down a smear campaign aimed at anti-Beijing protesters in Hong Kong. China says this is just their supporters voicing their support online using the most influential social networks available. So on what grounds do you think social media networks can actually decide that something should be silenced on its platforms?
Yeah, so I think the latest revelation by the two social media giants is quite significant. They've accused Beijing of conducting a wide-scale misinformation campaign, something that's not just people supporting Beijing, putting out commentary on social media, but it's a state-sponsored, coordinated campaign to mislead public opinion on what is happening in Hong Kong. So this is very different from public diplomacy by state media or governments, right? This is an active attempt to mislead people through manipulative means, manipulating the information environment. And I think Beijing's goal is really not really about changing people's mind per se, because that is very hard, but it's about diluting the information environment with propaganda, misinformation, introducing doubts as well as its own narratives, so that the narratives and ideas that are contrary to its views have less power over the whole of the international audience.
Right, but China is going to continue to argue that Facebook, the likes of Facebook and Twitter, are simply choosing sides here. And they might have a case, but Twitter and Facebook, in this case in particular, have said this is also about fake accounts, that 1,000 fake accounts had to be shut down. Now, that's a bit different, is it not? That they're showing that this is right, that's when you get into the actual manipulation. These aren't people's voices being heard. This is right, go ahead.
Yeah, Andrea, the accusation is not that there are voices that are supporting Beijing, as Beijing has claimed in response to the latest accusation. The accusation is that Beijing is conducting a large-scale misinformation campaign. This is a state-led campaign, and not just commentary by some individuals, but a well-coordinated campaign to, in Twitter's words, sow dissent, sow political dissent in Hong Kong. And we've seen escalating rhetoric from Chinese state media, demonizing the protesters and labeling them as violent criminals and radicals that are in bed with nefarious foreign forces to undermine China. I mean, for anybody that has free access to information, that story is, it just doesn't stand up to scrutiny. But certainly in this case, it's not about free speech. Instead, it's about state-led efforts to mislead international public opinion.
Let me ask you this final question. I mean, do you think this, I don't want to exaggerate here, but could this become an existential problem of sorts for the likes of, Twitter and Facebook? Because now they are going to have to go up against, in this case, China, a very powerful government state player who will have its right to say, we deserve a voice. This could get very difficult for Facebook and Twitter to have to deal with these very powerful players.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Twitter and Facebook deserve credit for coming out in a somewhat timely manner. This has been going on for weeks, but they finally came out. And they've come out in a transparent way, putting the data online for analysts to look at. Again, I will point out that this is not an accusation of, there are people supporting Beijing and we're shutting these down, but this is an accusation of fake accounts, of state-led manipulation of the information environment. And certainly, I think it's going to have an impact on Twitter and Facebook's bottom line. But ultimately, for people that are using these platforms, the integrity and credibility of these platforms are really important. So if we can't be sure that the information on it is from genuine individuals instead of state-led manipulation campaigns, then I think these companies will suffer in the long term. So I think they're acting in their long-term interests, and I think in this case they've done a good job.
Adam Ni joining us live there from Berlin. Thanks so much for that.